Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Our guest today is Jake Runnels. He has a YouTube channel with over 100 videos, 3,000 subscribers, talking primarily about Colombia, Argentina, and being a digital nomad. So we welcome Jake to the podcast.
Thank you, Happy Vance. I really appreciate it. I've been following you guys on Twitter for a while. I've gotten a lot of value out of your guys' content personally, and I'm super excited to be here and connect with you.
For sure. And your Twitter I couldn't find. Is it just like Anon? I couldn't find it. Do you have one?
It's pretty much anon. I don't really use. I haven't used it for like my own personal brands or anything like that. If I browse, I just use an anon account, but I probably will soon.
You should, man. If you're doing the YouTube anyway, Twitter's easy. You just
Yeah,
do some shit posting,
yeah.
add a logo.
What has been the big I guess like what do you find to be the best kind of like ROI on Twitter? Like do you connect with a lot of people? Because like for me, like even though my channel on YouTube has about like 3,000 subs, in comparison to like Instagram, it feels like it feels like 30,000 like Instagram followers in comparison. Like for the amount of like connections and people that you
Mhm.
meet through it. So I'm curious like what you've gotten out of doing the Twitter thing because I've been following you guys for a while.
You definitely meet good people. Good way to connect with people. And sorry. So what you said there is that with your YouTube channel, that's led to a lot of really good connections. And you're saying that 3,000 subs on YouTube feels like what would be the equivalent of 30,000 on Instagram?
Yeah, I think it honestly might even be more. I mean, I don't have 30,000 on Instagram, so I wouldn't know. But I mean, I feel like even after having like a couple hundred subscribers on YouTube, I had immediately started meeting a lot more people, and where now, um, because a lot of people on my channel they'll follow when I go places, and um, it's the digital nomad space. I think in a lot of these areas is it can be quite it can be kind of a small world. I've ran
Sure.
into people in Palermo and in Buenos Aires that I also ran into in Medellin or in Bogota.
Yep.
And so I see some of the same faces and everything like that, and people from my channel. Every now and then, like when I'm in Medellin, I'll bump into people that have seen my channel, and so I would say even like my friend circle now is almost entirely people. While I'm traveling, it's almost entirely people that I've met like through my own YouTube channel, which at like three
Mhm.
thousand subs to me is crazy, but that's the experience I've had.
And is that from people recognizing you, or I guess you have your email there and like a link to your Instagram, and people are like cold hitting you up, or how do they take it from like online to offline?
So the only like really link that I share on any content or videos that I do is just my Instagram, and I just tell people like DM me on Instagram because it's cool when people reach out and they just start conversations. A few people like when I'm walking or if I walk around in Medellin, like if I go to like the Santa Fe Mall or something like that, or one of these areas, then I was making content there for a while, so I'll usually get recognized a few times when I go to Medellin. But a lot of times it's guys that, in my videos, I usually say just like, DM me on Instagram, and people ask me questions, and I'll answer them, to the best that I can, just for the sake of it. And then some of them, they're like, hey, I'm in town, let me buy you a beer, let me buy you a steak. And I'll be like, all right, yeah. And so I've met a lot of cool people through that.
Definitely, that's awesome. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't have the self confidence to put themselves out there like that, and do the vlog style stuff. I'm sure maybe when you got started, you were a little bit nervous and finding your voice, and now I imagine 100 plus videos in, you've kind of found your flow a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good amount of those videos might be shorts. So I don't know if that's included in it, but yeah, I would say it's definitely the first couple of videos were quite like nerve wracking to some degree. Just like you're kind of like putting yourself out there and exposing yourself, and it's very like you get a very like self conscious feeling before you upload a video because it's like it's
Mhm.
my face, it's my name, it's the things that I'm talking about with like my own personal life, but
Hmm.
I would say nowadays I don't really care so much. I like, when I put out, videos, I definitely feel a lot more comfortable and confident and just like making my own jokes, sharing my own opinions, which a lot of people don't agree with all the time, but I enjoy it nonetheless. So,
Hmm. So you feel like it's kind of less scary than to put yourself out there than it seems?
yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel it's not really scary at all anymore. The thing I'm more worried about is like that I don't say anything like dumb that will maybe like get me kicked off of YouTube or something like that. Like I wouldn't want to lose my channel, and I know that like YouTube can maybe be like really strict on like certain things you say, and I never know what could be like interpreted in the wrong way. And I hear about people that will have like a million subscribers and they'll just get their channel like just taken down for some random reason or something like that, or maybe not so random, but yeah. So I would say now the worry is more like the opposite. I just want to make sure I stay in good standing, I guess.
Hmm. And you edit your own videos and kind of do everything. You do your own thumbnails, do your own editing.
Yeah, I do all my own thumbnails, the editing and everything like that. There's like before I was doing every single like cut and everything like that, but there's some cool stuff happening like with AI and the softwares that are using. So now I use like some AI software, which has helped speed things up a lot, which is
Hmm.
honestly the most annoying part of like having making YouTube videos is doing the editing. It's the
Yep.
most time consuming part of it. If it wasn't for that, I'd probably upload a lot more.
Hmm.
But but yeah,
And what do you do to make money online or fund your travels?
I do a mixture of a few things. My main focus since I started traveling a few years ago is e-commerce. So I don't talk so much about like the brand or anything that I use, but I mostly use like Instagram, Shopify, and with a little bit of like Amazon FBA.
Hmm.
It's like a print on demand brand essentially. So I make the designs. That's why I know a little bit about like thumbnails and stuff like that because I have some experience with graphic design, and so that's the main thing. And then of course I do like I do crypto trading and stuff like that as well. And every now and then I'll do like consultations and stuff like that for my YouTube channel, but that's kind of here or there depending on if the situation's right.
Okay. So is ecom pumping or like more lifestyle type numbers?
I mean, I don't know. It depends on who you like. For the amount of work I put into it, it's really good. I mean, it's like I don't like I really enjoy the amount of like time that I spend and how I spend my time here. And for the amount of time that I spend on e-commerce, it's like I don't really spend a lot of time on it. So it's definitely more than I guess I should have for the amount of like energy I put into it. But I'm recently more so I'm shifting a lot more to doing YouTube and finding a way to turn this into an income stream because I think that having a personal brand would be a lot more beneficial in the long run.
Hmm. What ideas do you have to make that happen?
I think there's a few things. I think that maybe have an e-commerce, brand or something like that that is attached to my name. Although I don't really talk about that so much on my channel. A few things that I've done in the past is I've done like tours for like very specific people, like guys that just need someone to go with them and they're willing to pay decent money to have me like tag along a few times. I've been to like recently I went to Colombia and I, had basically a guy who hired me to do a tour with him, and I was like, oh, okay, for the amount that you want to do it for, like, and the fact that I already know Colombia and I'll show it to you, it sounds good. So those are some options. I know some buddies that I have, for example, like Where's Wes. He does like a lot of affiliate stuff with a bunch of different
Hmm.
things in countries. He also does he also has like his own course or something like that. I don't know if I would ever sell a course, but I think there's a lot of different ways. And if I never monetized it, I'd be happy with that as well because I just enjoy making the videos.
Yeah, where's Wes? I need to get this guy on too. Have you met him in person?
Yeah, I've met him in person several times. Yeah, I mean, since he's been to Poland, I haven't hung out with him. I haven't talked to him as much, but when he was in Colombia before he left, we hung out a few times. We had really good conversations. I'd consider him a good friend.
Awesome. And have you met or heard of Cyan Chan, previous podcast guest?
No, no. What's his
You know who I'm
story?
talking about? Maybe I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I kind of forget now. Sayyan. He talks about a lot of the same stuff you do, like kind of dating in Colombia, this kind of thing.
Cyan Yen.
Chan.
Um, oh, Chen. S.
Chan. Sayyanchan. And for the audience listening, you can check out Cyan's YouTube, or we also have a podcast together. It's a pretty funny one.
Okay. No, I can't find him for some reason, but I'll definitely look into that. Does he have a big channel?
Yeah, it's like 8,000 subs, 400 videos.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yeah, the dating angle. I think the dating angle is something that a lot of guys are really interested in,
Hmm.
especially in Latin America. I mean, I
Why
think.
do you think that is?
I mean, I'm dumbfounded. I have no idea. Um, yeah, I think it's like a lot of guys like they'll like a lot of guys in Colombia. They'd be like, "Wow, it's so great! Like the food, the weather, the this, the that," and then it's like, dude, like it's the way like for a lot of guys there. Like, not saying for everybody, but it definitely is something that's
It's a
drawing a lot.
dangerous country to date, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, my opinion on that is like, I feel like it's a bit of an IQ test for guys that end up in bad situations there. Like, no offense to anyone that does, but it's like, if you're using online dating, then yeah, it's a horrible place because it's like you're basically just like you're in a kiddie pool with like sharks, basically. Like uh, you know, these women or drug dealers or whatever the on that use the app specifically to target gringos. It's you're in a land you're in like a landmines all over the place. But when I go back to Colombia, I think I don't find it to be that hard to meet like decent quality women. I've never felt in danger there. I've never been like worried that a girl was gonna drug me or anything like that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think with the dating angle, it always inherently needs fresh voices because maybe the like old school PUAs or dating YouTubers, like eventually everyone kind of drops out of it or gets bored or they, settle down and start a family. So you do kind of always need new voices to come in and kind of talk about that stuff because most people don't do it forever. So it's definitely an angle that works. Obviously, it has its downfalls, right? Like associating maybe like your name with this stuff, and you know, making sure you don't get canceled and this kind of thing. We've definitely had some buddies who have been chased out of countries before, but as long as you can find a balance, it definitely gets the views.
I think that Alex Holloman, I think he was the um, African American YouTuber in Brazil. He got like canceled by a feminist journalist. That
Yep.
was the big story that I remember. Um,
Austin. Is it Austin or Alex?
Austin,
Austin.
Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the main one I remember. Yeah, like him getting canceled, and his stuff, like, it seemed like it was honestly like in somewhat like poor taste. I remember that was like a big story, like when that happened. Like, I don't know if it was like a year or two or so at this point, and then
Hmm.
it put the whole that whole like passport bro thing sort of on blast, and I mean, to an extent, like, fair enough, rightfully so. I think a lot of those guys were kind of like putting stuff out there in quite poor taste. So, like, he was going up to girls and like interviewing them and like, how much does it cost to take you out? And they're like, what are you talking about, dude? And he'd be like, yeah, look, it's just, it wasn't really done. It wasn't really done, I think, in a, in the best way. But yeah,
There's a lot of pitfalls. Like maybe have you met Patrick Red?
yeah,
You
I've
heard
heard
of
of
him?
it.
You heard of
Yeah.
him? So they were just doing like mansion parties and stuff, and then there was like one girl that was like 17 that was at the mansion party. She was fine. She was like unharmed, I guess, but just the fact that she was like consuming alcohol, and then they're like, "There's minors at the mansion party." So yeah, you really got to be careful.
Yeah, especially in Medellin, a lot of those. those parties and stuff like that. It can be a real grimy place. A lot of drugs, a lot of yeah, a lot of like just kind of yeah, a lot of nastiness. I think guys go there for a shortcut, and when you go places for a shortcut, you're putting you are most guys are putting themselves at risk for something else.
So how did you kind of decide Latin America was going to be your focus? I did see there's a couple videos from the Ukraine, but the vast majority of the channel is basically Colombia, maybe one or two Ecuador, and then now Argentina stuff. Do you kind of feel like you're like a LATAM guy, or are you going to do a little bit of everything? Are you going to be hopping over to Bali or something, or what's the game plan?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll end up in Bali, but I do. I don't know if I can. Yeah, I don't think Latin America. I don't see super long term. Like, just I don't find myself like to the point where I love it so much that I would like commit the rest of my life here or anything like that. I would say that my Eastern Europe is definitely high on the priority list.
Mm,
I would honestly love to go to Russia. Like Russia would be like the top place that I would like to go right now. But
yeah.
I was in Ukraine during the war, and I have like a Ukrainian passport stamp, on my passport, so that I don't know if they would trust me and let me in, and I don't want to get thrown into a gulag. But other than that, I think Eastern Europe is probably tied right there. One of the reasons why I like Argentina is because you know, I don't know how if other people feel like this, but I've always felt like for me, like it reminds me in a lot of ways of Eastern Europe. Just like the architecture, the little coffee shops in every corner, walkable cities, and everything like that.
Hmm.
So a lot of the reasons why I like Argentina is because it reminds me of that vibe that I had there. So I'll probably end up, going back there relatively soon, probably sometime in the next year.
Yeah, and we're recording this in mid-November, and everybody on Twitter is complaining that Argentina is fucking expensive right now. What's kind of your experience been?
Yeah, it is a year ago this same time. It was insanely cheap. Where are you right now, by the way?
I'm in Mexico.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like this time last year, it was insanely cheap. It was even cheaper than Colombia. But ever since Milei became president, I'm not someone who understands the full complexities of it, but the currency has basically like stabilized. Like it hasn't been inflating as much, but like the real cost of things has gone up a lot.
Hmm.
But it's really like it's really spotty. It's not like everything necessarily. Like some goods, like I remember, like olive oil was one of those things where it was just probably double the price that it was in the U.S. at one point. But
Mm.
then if you go and you buy steak, like I eat steak, pretty much every day down here. But it's still like you can get like a kilogram of like really high quality, uh, like New York strip steak or something like that, or sirloin steak for, like $8 or $9 or something like that. So some things like groceries and stuff like that when you buy, I think are generally still pretty cheap. But you go to a restaurant and restaurants and some things are yeah they can be quite expensive. I mean, America's obviously more expensive still, but if you're someone that's used to like Colombia or maybe even Mexico, I don't know too much about Mexico, then I would say it's definitely raised in comparison.
Fair enough. And you're traveling a bit around the country. Went to Cordoba. Are you back in Buenos Aires now?
Yeah, for right now, I'm in Buenos Aires. I'll probably just be here for maybe a few more weeks. I'm not really sure yet, and then I would like to probably head back to Brazil, which is a place I was in a few months ago. But yeah, as far as within Argentina, I spent a lot of time in Cordoba. I spent like 6 months in Cordoba. I really love that city.
You spent 6 months in Cordoba, Argentina.
Yeah, it was nice. I like it. I like places like that that are a little bit more kind of not off grid, but just like there's just not a lot of tourists there. There's not a lot of foreigners there. Um, from the dating angle as well, I think that makes things interesting. Like when you meet people, they're like, "Wow, you're like you have like much more of like a cultural difference with people." So it makes I think dating and stuff like that more interesting as well. Um, and yeah, in general, Cordoba is a really nice city. I spent some time in Rosario. Bariloche, a few of the small towns as well outside. But Buenos Aires right now has a lot more like networking opportunities. So that's why I'm kind of decided to spend more time here. But I did like Cordoba a lot.
Hmm. And maybe you could give us kind of like a breakdown or a comparison, Cordoba versus Buenos Aires, kind of across, the normal pillars, maybe cost of living, stuff to do, maybe throw dating in there, um, whatever, any other metrics.
Yeah, so like Cordoba is if you're someone that already speaks Spanish or you're not like super language dependent, like some guys they complain a lot about like, oh, I don't speak Spanish yet or something like that. Like if you really need to be in a place where you can kind of have your hand held and be around at least some English, then you would definitely want to be in Buenos Aires. But if you do already speak Spanish, because pretty much, I mean, I've met almost no, like very, very, very few people in Cordoba that ever spoke English, um, then Cordoba is like a really good spot for that. It feels a little bit slower. I mean, it's the second largest city in Argentina, but it's still several times smaller than Buenos Aires. Uh, and it felt really safe, pretty clean and everything like that. And some of the cons were, because it was like a little bit slower, like some shops and stuff like that, like close like in the middle of the day and for like a siesta, and they'll reopen. Um, so just like in general, and then the nightlife and everything like that is pretty good in Cordoba. Buenos Aires, you have a lot of movement, you have more networking. I did know a few foreigners that were living in Cordoba, but it was pretty much like there was like a handful of us guys, and we all knew each other, So it was a pretty like tight knit amount of people that were there in general.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So, how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Bit Refill. Bit Refill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you are a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Holze, the author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond 20K a month. So what is job stacking? It's this idea of working multiple remote jobs. You might have heard Rolf, he's worked 5, 7, even 9 remote jobs at the same time before. And by the way, job stacking works equally well for non-technical roles. So no, it's not just for the nerds. So if you're ready to job stack, then book a discovery call with job stacking and see how they can double your income in just 9 weeks. In the show notes in the description, there will be a link where you can book a call directly on the Calendly of job stacking and be talking with them as early as tomorrow about how to double your income as quickly as possible.
So Buenos Aires, more networking, more English, more things to do in general. Not a lot of nature. The nice thing about Cordoba is it's right outside of the mountains, so it's like you're an hour away from just going up into the
Hmm.
Sierras Mountains if you wanted to for like a weekend. Buenos Aires, one thing I don't really like about it is that it's just all flat surrounding it. You're gonna have to
Hmm.
probably fly somewhere if you want to get some decent nature. If you want to go to the
Hmm.
beach, you got to go to Mar del Plata, or you got to fly to Patagonia or something like that. Um, so in general, I would say those are the main things as far as dating and everything like that goes. Cordoba definitely has, yeah, definitely some of the most beautiful, probably some of the most beautiful women in Argentina. I would say like on average, just like random ones that you see, I would say it's like in comparison to Buenos Aires, for some reason, I'd say it's like a notch or two above. They say the same thing about Rosario, but it's not that much different at the end of the day. I think you'd have the experience is going to be relatively similar whether you're in Buenos Aires or if you're in Cordoba as far as meaning goes. What is cool about Cordoba is that a lot of people come there from all over the country because there's a lot of universities there. So a lot of people come there, they'll study, and then they'll stay there and they'll live there.
Hmm.
And so you meet people from Jujuy, like up in the north. You meet people from Ushuaia down in the south. So it's like by being in one city, I was meeting people from all over Argentina that were from literally every single corner of Argentina. And so that was I think a cool. Whereas in Buenos Aires, like everyone that is here is pretty much like they were born here or they're from here, unless they're from like a different country or something like that. But yeah, rough comparison.
Mm. Give us the cheese, mate. Give us the gossip. You must have had a girlfriend out there if you're there for 6 months.
Yeah, yeah, I had a few, but nothing like super serious. Yeah, nothing like I would say one thing I talk about in some of my videos is like the Argentinian girls are very used to like these I don't know if you've experienced like similar, but like a lot of I don't know, are you married or do you have a girlfriend in one of these Latin American countries or all over the place?
Yeah, I have a girlfriend.
Okay. Mexico, or you don't want to say
Uh huh.
which country? Okay. Yeah, like in our like in Colombia, what I felt is like the girls are like, if you're just a gringo, they're very fast and they meet you. Like they're very fast to get into almost a relationship. Whereas in Argentina, even if they do really like you, they're not expecting to get into a relationship and very fast because if you end up meeting their parents, then it's like a very, very serious thing, for example. Like it's a very
Hmm.
big step for them because the family is so important to them down here.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean there were girls that I met there that I like there, but casual. If I go back, I see them, but nothing like nothing super like nothing super
So, did
serious.
you meet some parents?
No, I never. No, no,
Have
I
you
wouldn't
ever
be.
met Argentine parents?
Not from a girl. I guess not a girl's parents. No, no, I haven't met like an Argentinian girl's parents.
Invite you to the asado?
I've been to asados and stuff like that. Like I've had so I trained jujitsu and buddies and everything like that. Would every now and then they would host asados like on Sundays and stuff like that. So I do love the asado culture.
Nice. Do you know Scotty from Paraguay? Have you heard of? Do you know who I'm talking about? Well,
Scotty from Paraguay. I know a few Scotties. I don't know if I know one specifically from Paraguay.
okay, never mind. Just a ecom jiu-jitsu guy, so I thought maybe there might have been. Okay,
No
random
shit.
question. Here's one thing all the YouTube followers want to know about Jake. You ready?
Ready?
What's up with the haircut, man?
Yeah, no, I need to get one. I need to get one soon. I'm all scruffy right now, but I'll let it grow out for a long time and then I'll get it cut really short. So
It's a
I
bush, bro. It's
yeah, right now it's all tangled up right now. I'm not gonna try to defend it at all. But I've always been, especially in Colombia, I was always hesitant about getting haircuts. So I would just let myself grow it out really long because the haircuts of the Colombian dudes I always thought was like pretty atrocious. Like the mullet,
fades and
like
stuff.
they have like the side cut and the mullets and like that those cuts down the side. So I would always like avoid a Colombian barber, but I'm in Argentina, so I think I'll be safe. So I'll be going pretty soon.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think it's time, bro. I think it's time. I'm kind of just messing with you, but I know if anyone like actually watched your YouTube and then listen to this, they'd be like, "Thank God he asked that question."
Yeah.
And how old are you, by the way?
26.
26. And where in the states are you from?
I'm from Florida.
Florida. And have you? I imagine how many years you've been doing this? I'm like starting to add up the time. I'm like, how the hell do you do 6 months in Cordoba? So how long have you been kind of doing the digital nomad thing?
Yeah, so I think when I was, the first time I went and traveled was when I was, I think I was 19 or 20. I was studying in Gainesville, Florida, and I was working as a server, and I started getting into, I was like trying to figure out something to do online, and I started, kind of researching stuff to do, with e-commerce. And within like a couple weeks, I made like a couple sales. I didn't know anything about what I was doing at the time, but like one day it was like 200, it was like $200, and I'm like, fuck this. And so I like quit, I quit the job that I was doing, and the, the studies that I had. And I was like, I'm just gonna, figure this out. And then after a few months of realizing like, okay, I'm, above water. Like I'm doing, I'm able to like live and support myself just by doing this, by being online. I can maybe try to travel now. And so I booked a ticket to the, I guess like the first place I went to was Paris, and I basically
Hmm.
planned this trip where, because I was obsessed with jujitsu at the time, like I was training every single day, 6 times a week, sometimes twice a day,
Hmm.
doing competitions, and so I was basically geared a trip around jujitsu, and I was like 19, I wanted to do it as like cheaply as possible, so I basically uh, there's an organization called the BJJ Globetrotters, which is like this like travel jujitsu. It's like this affiliation of academies all around the world, of jujitsu academies,
It's pretty
and
cool.
they all allow foreigners to, or travelers to, come and train at any one of their schools for free for like a week. And so there's a big list of them all over the place. So it's like you just say like, hey, is this a Globetrotter school? And you could just come in and train for a week. And a lot of those gyms, they had like an extra thing where someone from the gym would open up their, basically their house, or their house or their couch or a spare room or something like that to people that were traveling. And there was like this list of people that were offering this. And so I like emailed a bunch of people, and I set up this like kind of this ping pong trip around like France and Germany and Poland, basically just around whatever jujitsu gyms would have me and host me. And so and that was my first time out of the country. And so I spent like 3 months or something, like bouncing around, training jujitsu, living out of a backpack. And I was like, this is amazing. And so after that trip, I just started like, I would go back to the United States, but then I would just do something. I would just travel more and more. I went back to the States after that, and um, I ended up buying a van, and I did van life in the United States for a little bit, for like probably like a year and a half in total, or a little bit, maybe a little more. And that was during the pandemic. So when the pandemic happened, I was traveling around the U.S. and in my van, and I had, before that, I had visited Colombia briefly with a friend, and I loved it. And so uh, for a couple of years, I was just kind of bouncing back and forth between, like, I would go to the U.S. and I would do van life for a few months, and then I would go to
Hmm.
Colombia and do Colombia for a few months, and that was kind of my life for a while.
Okay. So you've managed to be making money online for how many years now?
I guess it'd be like 6, 7 years, something like that.
That's really good.
Yeah, yeah. I think. Yeah, I like the freedom, and I wouldn't, maybe I would live in one place at one point, but right now I really enjoy, being quite mobile, traveling around.
And sounds like you've done stints where you go to Latin America and then come back to the US. And so I have a question I like asking to my guests, which is, have you experienced any reverse culture shock?
Yeah, yeah. I feel that a lot when I go back to the U.S. Um, I would spend so much time outside. Like I would spend like 3 to 6 months or even more in Colombia, and then I would go back to the United States, and I would be almost excited to go back, and then that excitement would like wear off like pretty quickly. Like as soon as I got back, and I don't know, you just see, just kind of you get this like I don't want to complain too much about it, but like a plastic feeling, I think that is a little bit there sometimes in comparison to Colombia. Like Colombia or South America in general can have like a very like real and authentic feel, whereas like in America, you got like WalMarts, fast food. You're driving everywhere. You don't walk. The food just like lacks flavor and taste. Like literally,
Hmm.
you go from some of these countries where the produce and everything like that tastes so good. Um, there was one time when I was in Colombia for the first time. I remember I went to the store with my buddy that I was traveling with, and we bought some chicken. And I remember when we were cooking the chicken, like I tasted it, and I stopped and I asked my friend, I'm like, "Can you taste this? Like, what is this? Like, what is going on here?" I almost thought it was like bad or something like that. And he's like, "Oh, this is delicious." Because it was so flavorful. I had never had, meat or chicken that had tasted that like that fresh. It almost tasted like the artificial like chicken flavoring stuff that you put on like ramen noodles or something like that. Like it tasted
Hmm.
like the chicken flavor of stuff that you buy in the United States, and I hadn't experienced that before. So yeah, and I'll come back now, and like the language is even different. Like the way, especially younger people speak. Like you're just gone for a few months, and all of a sudden people are using different words like Riz and Cap or whatever. I don't know. Like when you spend some time outside of it, it's funny how quickly it changes.
What about staying in touch with old buddies, like the high school buddies, college buddies, and now you're living this whole new lifestyle where you probably have more location independence and freedom than I'm guessing 95% of the kids, like your high school buddies, right?
Mhm.
How's that dynamic kind of changed between you and your old best friends?
Yeah, I don't really think there's. I mean, from high school specifically, I don't really think there's anyone off the top of my head that I can really recall like keeping in touch with. I think I kept in touch with people for the first couple of years of doing this, but since then, my social circles has really changed and morphed a lot um, since since being on the road. So yeah, I mean, there's friends that I have from like university and college, and jujitsu friends that I trained with when I was in Gainesville. Um, but yeah, really, you know, really like most of my social circles morphed into like digital nomads guys that are kind of bouncing all over the place, or people that I meet randomly from my channel, and of course like keep in touch with family and everything like that, and a couple like really close best friends back home. But yeah, a lot of it fades away, but that doesn't really bother me so much. I don't really think about that or really care about that so much. I'm pretty happy with the people that I know in my life right now, and I wouldn't trade it for you know
And have
um,
you tried to quote unquote save your friends? Have you said, like, hey, man, there's this whole world out there. You can come down with me to Columbia. Chicks are going to be all over you. You can
yeah.
live on $1,000 a month. We're going to be going all around the country, ripping it up in Airbnbs. Have you tried to save some people stuck in the US rat race?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've tried to, maybe my brother. I've told my brother that he kind of does his whole thing there, but every now and then he'll talk to me about something about like girls or something like that. And I'm like, dude, just come back, like, just go to Colombia, dude. You'll be fine. You'll be a superhero. But no, aside from that, I think when I was younger, I would try to like proselytize everything more. Like I would discover something new, and I would get really excited about it, and I would like try to proselytize it to other people in my life that I cared about. Like whether it be like jujitsu, I got really into jujitsu, and I would try to tell everybody like, guys, you got to do jujitsu, Um, one thing, one thing I had done a few times was ayahuasca, which I don't know if you've ever heard about that down in Colombia. It's a very very powerful. Some people call it a medicine, some people call it a drug. And I thought that that was like this really intense thing, and I would try to proselytize about that. So now when it comes to like my lifestyle, like I'm happy with the lifestyle I live. And if other people, I think people can live in the United States and have a really great life. I think a lot of people don't, because the culture is becoming so extreme in a lot of ways, where it's like, the winners are sort of taking all, and a lot of people are sort of falling into a much like harder life, whether that be economically or dating wise or anything like that. But I do know a lot of people that live really good lives in the United States, and I wouldn't hold it against them at all.
And what about your brother? I'm curious because I have brothers too. Is it younger brother, older brother?
He's a younger brother.
Younger brother. So shout out Jake's younger brother. And obviously, he probably looks up to you, and you have to lead by example. He's just not there yet. Maybe he's not willing, or he's not feeling the motivation quite yet to sort of put in the extra hours necessary to pick up online skill on the
Yeah.
evenings and weekends. Um, does that frustrate you?
No, not really. For him, it's different. So I don't know how much I can say, but he's in the military. So like right now, it's not really an option. But I do tell him like, look, whenever you're done, whenever you decide to not, be in it anymore, like just come down and like you can live with me for for as long as you want if you need to, but like just come down here and figure out a skill. So I get a lot of people that, I'm sure you get a lot of people that reach out to you, and that's probably a big question that they ask, is they ask like, I want to go down there, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make money or anything like that. I'm curious what you tell people, because I think there's a lot of different ways that people can go about embarking on doing something like that. There's the kind of like build the bridge method, I guess, where it's like you stay in your job and you just save up, save up, save up, save up, and maybe you learn online skills first, or you just save up a bunch of money, you book a flight, and then you figure it out while you're there. I've heard of people doing both things, but I'm sure there's a lot of different ways that people
Hmm.
go about it.
Yeah. One of the sponsors of the podcast is Job Stacking. So I highly recommend people reach out to Job Stacking to get their first remote job, or if they already have one, then they can actually stack a second remote job and just be absolutely killing it money wise. So there's a link in the description for Job Stacking. But back to your question, Jake, like I've actually kind of gone back and forth on this. Like, should you take more of a burn the boats approach or more of a bridge approach? And I think you can do the bridge approach if you do a recon mission immediately and you
Yeah.
go down for a couple weeks so that you know what you're looking forward to. So you go, okay, like, I'm all I know is my life in Ohio. It's like how does that person in Ohio or Gainesville, how are they going to even sum up the motivation to, whatever, learn how to code or build an e-com store or whatever, and they're not sure if it's going to work, and they're investing all their free time, blah blah blah. How are they going to do that if they don't even know what's on the other side, the greener pastures of
Yeah.
Colombia or Latin America or whatever, right? So um, I think a recon mission can really help, especially if you're in Florida, and a flight to like Dominican or something like that's barely going to be like $250 round trip. You know what I mean? If you catch it at the right time, and
Yeah.
that way and then you can come back to your normal life. You're working at Whole Foods, whatever the hell you're doing, and you know what you're working towards, right? So I really recommend doing a recon trip, because if you're saying, yeah, I'm gonna, 6 month plan, in 6 months I'm gonna become a digital nomad, you're just gonna be procrastinating a shitload because you don't really have that intrinsic motivation because you don't really know. So you're just gonna end up, watching Netflix and just sort of like procrastinating.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I've been in touch with people that in my DMs and stuff like that, where they've been talking about doing it for for years or whatever. They're like,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm gonna. And it's like I tell people like, look, don't base your desire on going to Argentina or Colombia or whatever just off of my videos or whatever vlogs that you see. Yeah, exactly what you said. You need to go down there. You need to take a trip for yourself and see it for yourself, because I've met a lot of people where they realize like, oh, they didn't like it, where it just wasn't. It wasn't their cup of tea, and maybe some people can get what they want out of it by just having a couple months out of the year. Like maybe you don't. A lot of people ask about like moving there. I'm like, well, have you even been there? Like they talk about how do I rent an apartment, but they haven't even gotten an Airbnb for a month or a couple months first. It's like it's better to even if it's better to pay the premium of having the option if you're not really sure about it yet. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and because I feel like most people won't do the recon realistically, um, at least like the young people, because taking a recon trip would represent such a large portion of their savings for most people.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like the burn the boats approach would actually probably work for most people. Where if you have at least like I don't know 6 grand, um, just do it. Just burn the boats and go. Because once you're in it, you're gonna be like you're immediately gonna be like I'm never going fucking back to Gainesville again. I'm gonna make this work, and you're just gonna be like so intrinsically motivated. You're gonna spend 12 hours at the coffee shop trying to make money come out of that keyboard. You know what I mean? So I honestly think burn the boats will work. I actually just hired a guy who did burn the boats, went to Paraguay without a job from Australia, and I mean he got a job within less than a month with me. And if it wasn't me, it obviously would have been some other opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I think burn the boats is going to work. Like there's just so much work out there. You know what I mean? Um, if someone just approached Jake and said like, "Hey man, I'll run your e-com stores. Tell me what buttons to press. You only got to pay me like $1,000 a month. I speak perfect English. I'll listen to everything you say." They'd be like, "Fuck yeah, okay, $1,000 a month. I'll hire you to do like literally everything for my business." You know what I mean? And it's like, and $1,000 a month is good to get started. You'll like learn some e-com skill. Um, and you'd be more than fine in like large parts of Latin America on even $1,000 a month. Low ball, obviously, but I'm just saying, like, if you went to pretty
Yeah.
much any business owner and said, "Hey, man, I'll work for literally $1,000 a month, 9 to 5," like, you know what I mean? Like, I have a high school degree. I'm a native English speaker. It's like, all right, like, that's kind of a no brainer. I'll hire this kid.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say like because I mean you've seen so many more people that have done this and get into the bring your bros approach. I mean the thing that I think is the default for most people is just to teach English. I don't know if there's a more default thing than that, but what have you seen like a particular? Because I've
I
always
think
wanted to
teaching
answer
English sucks. I think teaching
it.
English
Sounds
sucks.
like it sucks. Yeah.
It's very low paying,
Yeah.
and there's no real upward trajectory. Like if someone said, "Hey, I'll run your e-commerce store for you," they're going to learn about e-commerce, and then maybe that kid will like launch his own e-commerce store, or he'll learn a lot about online business and marketing and paid ads and like this and that, and he'll kind of grow into the next thing. But teaching English, like it doesn't really grow into anything. You're just like talking to some Chinese kid on Zoom. Like it's not really going anywhere. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point because that's like when people come down, I think that's the most entry basic like default thing that anyone could probably do because I mean they speak English. But what you're saying is like that's why I think, for example, like I think sales is another good one.
Yep.
From what I've seen, I've done some sales as well, and it's like it's one of those things where it's like if you can find someone that is willing to pay you so that way you learn the skill of sales,
The
like that.
problem with sales though is you're probably going to get 100% commission only, and it takes time for the money to come in with that. And if you pick the wrong offer or the wrong business to sell for, you've probably just burned 2 3 months
Yeah,
of your runway without knowing because you chose a bad offer or something just wasn't clicking with the thing that you were selling. So I really recommend something with just like a base salary that could cover your living expenses and just living cheap. Um, and doing something with a base salary, because the sales, it takes time to ramp up. I obviously, like, every sales job is different. It's a little bit hard to paint it with the brush, but like, the income is like pretty inconsistent, and it takes time as well. Like, maybe you're selling people on payment plans, and so even if you get whatever $500 a sale, you only get like $100 a month because they're paying over 5 months or something like that. And it's just
Yeah.
anyway. So I probably recommend people to do a base salary, anything with the base salary, just to like solidly lock in being able to stay where you are and not be losing money every month. And then
Yeah.
if you want to like sell on the side as like a second income or something, then I mean, sure, go for it.
Yeah, yeah, it would have to be a specific offer where they have, like, I know a lot of sales offers, they have like a minimum where it's like, okay, you're 100% commission, but if you don't make the minimum commissions or whatever, then your base is like 1,000 or 1,500 or two
Most things
thousand.
won't have a base, even, honestly.
Yeah,
If it
yeah,
has a base, cool. Most things won't have a base.
yeah. That's interesting. Um, what do you think is because it sounds like you've played a big part in bringing a lot of people down here. Like, what is the biggest? And it sounds like you spend time in like a few different places. What do you think is the biggest draw to Latin America? Like for you, is it the is it the food, the taxes, the politics, the women? Like,
The politics.
not I mean not the
Uh,
politics, but the lack of like maybe
Escaping
the
this
lack of
lack of politics.
yeah
I think it's changed over time. I think some things stay the same. Low cost of living, fruit, walkable cities, weather. Because I'm like Canadian and
uh,
northeastern American, so like I grew up playing hockey, Canada,
yeah.
6 months of winter, all that stuff. And so my original motivation was actually just to escape winter. Um,
For me, it's the opposite.
and
It's escaping summer.
Yeah,
It's
so I'll
one of
give you an observation, which is that one thing I've noticed about digital nomads and expats is the guys that are from cold places, they like Latin America. And the guys that are already from warm places with a bit of a Latino angle to it, the California, Texas, Florida guys, they actually prefer Eastern Europe,
no,
because
no.
it's something that's different. And they maybe don't mind winter, or at least like, or winter is something new, I guess. Or I don't know what it is. So I've talked about this with Kyle Trouble before, who's based in Poland, previous podcast guest. And I've noticed this observation a couple times. I mean, it's not like 100% the case, but like directionally, it's the case, because no one from fucking, you know, Vermont is going to go to Poland, because they're
No.
like, dude, it's literally the same shit, except they're speaking a weird ass language. Like, it's still winter and white people. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They're like, they're not going to do that. So someone from Vermont is going to go to Latin America, but someone from Texas could kind of go, or Florida in your case, could maybe go either way, where they go, okay, I'll go down to Latin America. I grew up with Latinos. I want to, like, discover more, type of thing. Or they go, you know what? I want a whole different experience. Let me go over to Eastern Europe, where just like maybe I grow more as a person, because like shit's different.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely true. I don't think I think since my first trip outside of the country, I've always been out of Florida I haven't had a Florida winter in probably like 5 or 6 years. Or a Florida summer in like 5 or 6 years. Every single year I deliberately avoid going back. And really, there's only like 2 months out of the year that I really enjoy the weather there. Maybe you could stretch it to like 3 or 4, but for me, the humidity, the hot. I liked Colombia for that reason. For in the sense that like it just didn't have any seasons. It didn't have any weather. It's like you go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Coffee Access or Medellin. It's just the same all year round, and you almost forget that weather is even like a thing to some degree, except for like the rain that can be quite heavy. But Yeah, that's what I like about Argentina is like while it's summer in Florida, I can have a winter down here. So that's definitely a very accurate observation because my friends from the UK,
Mm.
they're always head over heels about any of the hot weather or anything like that that they encounter down here, and I'm just being from Florida, I'm glad to be away from it, to be honest.
Right. So you're looking to escape in the summer, not the winter.
Yeah, yeah, I'm fine with cold. I would love to make up for it. Yeah,
Definitely makes sense.
man, man.
And how would you do Eastern Europe? Like, would you just do tourist visas? Do you see have you got into the sort of second passport residency game that we talk about?
Yeah, I think that's something that I need to consult a lot more of like your content about because everything I've done down here has just pretty much been like the tourist visas and everything like that, like just doing border runs and everything like that,
Mhm.
doing the 3 months or the 6 month extensions. But I haven't really taken too deep of a dive into it, but I know that it's massively beneficial. And from my understanding, I think your content talks a lot about how Argentina, from my understanding, is a pretty straightforward. It's like one of the more
Yeah.
straightforward paths to
Yeah.
getting citizenship. You just
Citizenship.
need
Yep.
2 years of
If you
residency.
do, yep, 2 years of residency, 6+ months a year, then you can apply for citizenship. You it sounds like you might even be more than halfway there, dude.
I honestly think I'm pretty I'm pretty close. So I think I might as well go for it. Um,
Huh,
and
maybe
I
we'll have to
think that
talk offline because we have a way where if you applied for residency now and became a resident and all that, you could probably use your time since you first entered the country. Like it sounds like
mm,
it was maybe a year and a half ago
mhm.
towards the citizenship. So you're literally only 6 to 12 months away from applying for citizenship.
I'm would be really keen to look into that honestly. Because I think, from my understanding as well, Argentina is one of the places where you can go to Russia, for instance, without a visa. This is one of
Yeah,
what I imagine to be
pretty
one of the
much
many
almost
benefits.
every Latin American passport can go to Russia visa free.
That's great. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool, and that amongst like a host of other benefits. And I will say, like as much as I'm not sure if there's like one spot that I know I would for sure settle down with yet. Like I think I really got to see more of Eastern Europe, but I will say that if there was one country in Latin America, I think Argentina would really be it most likely, just because it has so much to offer in terms of like having a big city, having a lot of different types of land, a lot of different types of nature. So I could definitely, if there was one place that I could see myself like settling down with, I think it probably would be Argentina. So I'll definitely look into that. But as far as your question with Eastern Europe, I'd probably go to Poland and just do like tourist visas and maybe do like border run, like do spend some time in the Balkans or something like that. But most likely Poland, because Poland is a pretty central location, and it'd be really
Hmm.
cool to take
I
trips
hear
to
good
different
things.
parts of Europe. So yeah, I think that's the other thing a lot of people are doing now.
I definitely hear good things. Yeah, there's a couple ways to get residency in Eastern Europe, like outside the EU, because there's
Yeah,
EU is one thing, and then outside the EU, you could do like Serbia, Montenegro. There's some different options in there. Albania.
yeah,
Albania allows Americans to stay 365 days a year on a tourist visa.
that's
Same
crazy.
same with Georgia
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Um,
Georgia. Yeah,
yeah, we're not. It's not like our expert area. We actually just on purpose don't provide Eastern Europe services.
yeah,
We got to specialize in something, so we do Latin America. Honestly,
yeah,
dude, you really have a shot to get Argentina citizenship pretty damn soon. So we will talk about that one offline.
yeah, for
And
sure.
anyone else listening to this interested in Argentina citizenship in 2 years, hit us up because there's a lot of solutions that people don't know about. Right? It's a lot. There's a lot more than just people think it's like, oh, I don't, there's only the rentista visa and I don't have $2,000 a month passive income. So, woe is me. There's nothing for me. But it's actually not like that. There's actually a lot more flexibility and strategies if you work with experts like My Latin Life.
That's pretty. Yeah, I would definitely be keen to look into that and let other people know about that too. That'd be great.
For sure, man. So let's kind of get to wrapping up. Tell us a little bit more about the YouTube channel, which is the primary way that people can enjoy your content.
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is just my name, Jake Runnels, and my Instagram as well at jake.runnels. And right now I'm posting, around once a week, once every other week, maybe sometimes a couple times a week, and starting to post more shorts as well. And right now I'm talking a lot about kind of my life in Argentina. I think I'll be talking a lot about being a digital nomad in general, and I also like to focus on the kind of the male experience, dating while traveling, that whole angle and everything like that as well. And because I find all that to be really interesting, I try on my channel to be very candid in the descriptions that I have of things, not to say, oh, this place is amazing for XYZ, which I think I see a lot of like, travel YouTubers do. I try to give a really honest opinion about any place that I go, and the experience that I have there and everything like that. So yeah, you can find me at Jake Runnels on YouTube.
Sounds good. Here at My Latin Life, we do not condone dating women from other countries under any circumstances whatsoever. You may only date women with your passport. Do not go abroad. That's our stance. But if you want another perspective, go check out Jake on YouTube. There'll be a link in the description to his channel, and check it out, because I can tell this is just the beginning, and he's got a lot of potential. So I'm looking forward to following your journey, Jake.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Well, this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, our guest today, Jake Runnels, at Jake Runnels, Runnels, on YouTube. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Wherever you guys are listening to this, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, we put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like Jake, so you won't want to miss an episode. Please subscribe, leave a review if you can as well, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Ciao for now.